All right. Inappropriate Earl's second season. We're rolling hard. It's a special week for the podcast. We got two coming on Thursday at 11 a.m. The great guitar player Joey Allen from Warrant is going to stop in and tell us where the Down Boys went and talk about Cherry Pie and those complex lyrics. But tonight is a different story. We got a dude, an actor, filmmaker, comedy voyeur, late night comedy store heckler stopping in. Put your grubby little sweaty sausage fingers together for Mr. Jordan Lee.
Thanks, Earl.
Dude, this is...
You always have the best lead-ins, man. Always.
Well, it's a competitive market, man. You got to stand out.
Swingers.
This is actually your second appearance because I believe you were on one of the first 3 or 4 with Danish and O'Neill.
I was, however, this is my first with a microphone.
Yeah, we weren't on top of it back then. Like we are now, as you can see.
Yeah, it's more professional now for sure.
Well, it's just hard getting people to come here. It took me 4 months to get Stephen Piercy from Rat to come, but it was worth it.
He's got a lot of shit going on, Earl. You know that.
Well, a lot of people are complaining about the sound on that episode. It was him chewing gum, actually. So,
dude, as a podcast fanatic, nothing pisses me off more than somebody chewing gum or eating on a podcast. I've shut off some of my favorite podcasters doing shit like that.
But he was nice enough to come down, and he's my favorite singer.
Oh, absolutely. You got to take what you can. I mean, it is what it is, you know.
And I have to thank Stephen Piercy right now for providing the quality mic knuckle holders. I've sent a picture out on Twitter. I'll send it again. Go make Stephen some dollars here because those Rat...
Oh, this for sale?
Oh, yeah. They're like, he's got like 20 different models and colors, and his prices are a bargain because I don't know if you're aware of this, but Vinnie Vincent, the man I have a personal obsession with.
I've read up on him just because of you. I know quite a bit of the story now.
But he has, this will make you appreciate it even more. He has a live auction going on right now. Just Google Vinnie Vincent live auction. I don't know if he has the money to keep the website going.
Is this another guitar that he claims to have played and didn't play? Or
it's insanity. The price is no matter
$8,000 for a signed 8x10.
You're out of your mind. Well, that's about right. He is selling his, I think his Jackson Flying V that he used on the Lick It Up tour for a low price of $90,000.
That's funny because my guess was going to be $500,000. So.
Well,
I'm not too far off.
I know a guy. He's a real schmuck. He actually put in a bid for $91,000 just to see if Vinny would contact him.
Are you hoping somebody outbids you?
No, it wasn't me. There's no way I would pay $91,000. I mean, that's worth maybe 10.
Not if I can't get you to buy Rick Rude's trunks for like $1,000 or whatever those were.
That guitar is worth 10 grand tops.
Yeah,
I know the most because it is a pretty cool guitar. It's the
right, but for a fanatic, I mean, that's not something that the guitar itself has much value outside of being his guitar.
Well, this one does from the standpoint of the story is this was a guitar made for Randy Rhoads.
Oh, okay.
Ozzy Osbourne.
Absolutely. Quiet Riot.
Plane crash. And, they had made all these Flying V guitars. Jackson did. And, obviously he didn't need them anymore, what Randy Rhoads was. So Vinny and Robin Crosby from Rat got a lot of the guitars that were made for Randy. So it's kind of somewhat of a cool story. And you can also get a t-shirt for $75 signed.
What a bargain.
I would love to meet the guy who wrote the descriptions for these items.
Now here's my question. Has anybody bought this stuff and actually received it?
Well, this just started, I think, over the weekend.
Because,
so.
The story is that people send him money for things that he's selling on his site and they never receive anything.
Yeah, you're looking at one of them.
What did you buy?
I bought his box set on cassette, which really tells you...
Cassette, tell me, how long ago was this?
This was... maybe late 90s, early 2000s, and it was kind of cool. The box set came in this like pink Flying V type case, and I opened it up, and there was nothing in it. Like there was
Just the
nothing in
case?
it. It was just the case. So, and I think I told this story on the Skylar Stone.
You got fucking pyramid schemed.
Yeah,
Earl.
I got schemed by the scheme. Scheme
Holy
Gene.
shit, man.
So I think I told this story on the Skylar Stone episode, but yeah, I'll tell it again in case people haven't. That was a while ago.
Right.
So I have this idea for a documentary I want Russell Peters to fund. I know Russell listens. He's a Vinny fan. That it's going to be called Finding Vinny. Because if you know, like you read in Rolling Stone, they
Right.
couldn't even find him.
Right. His house, I guess, looks abandoned at this point, and his
Yeah.
wife's died. So
His house is like in
it's a shack.
Tennessee. And
Yeah.
it's like,
it's like, yeah.
looks like the Addams Family house.
Right.
And his life is fascinating. I mean, first wife was a escort in Connecticut. She was found chopped to pieces. He started off writing jingles on Happy Days.
Right.
And then he was in the Dan Hartman band. There's some great video on YouTube. I think it's called Instant Replay by Dan Hartman, where it's him with a really 70s porno style stash and with G.E. Smith.
From Saturday Night Live bands.
That's two pretty good guitar players.
I'll say.
And Dan Hartman, he's more known for that song "I Can Dream About You."
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I grew up hearing that one going to the public pool. I know you wouldn't know what a public pool is.
No,
but
I only go in private pools.
yeah, us paupers from the Midwest had to go to a public pool that you paid $1.50 a day to go to.
I mean, your credit rating probably just got better by coming to my house.
Well, then I'll have some credit at least. This town's killed it.
Oh, it's this town's brutal, man. But I really had no credit actually for a long time because I'd always buy everything in cash.
Right, that was the way I was brought up to be. But you can't get anything. I couldn't even get my first apartment on something like that. So
yeah, I had trouble getting this house or condo because they were like, "Well, dude, we know you can afford it, but you have no credit. Like you have nothing."
It's a scheme, man. It's just all a fucking facade to get people into the system. Into that, it's like the fucking wrestlers had it probably the easiest because they were all making it in cash. They would just buy houses and shit in cash. They were never going to get a loan
But that's
with that kind
horrible.
of job. You know what I mean? Nobody would take a risk on a guy who puts his body on the line every night for any kind of loan.
I mean, but that's a horrible way for guys like you and me or anyone, girls, to just pay cash. And
Right. I mean, that's
my brother does the same thing. He still does it, and he's older than me. He buys everything in cash, which is cool in one sense because you have no debt.
right.
But then when you have to buy like a house or a high item car, or item.
Luckily, that doesn't come up too often for me.
Well, you will though. You got to get those acting gigs.
Yeah, we'll see. I keep waiting. I enjoy. I enjoy just living the dream. Whether or not I'm making any money at it, it's still better than what I would have been doing where I grew up. What everybody,
Which is where?
I grew up in Troy, Ohio, which was pretty close to Dayton, which is also pretty close to Cincinnati, and both of those were notorious murder cities would routinely make the top 10 or top 5 in murders for the year. So it was just like we were on the outskirts of it, and there was just a lot very conservative, ultra conservative people. There's not a lot to do, so. I was pretty much a loner and knew when I heard Appetite for Destruction, that changed it all.
Oh yeah, welcome to the jungle.
Oh, dude, well,
you're in it.
It was the videos, and then it was like I think I was 7 years old or something when I got that tape, and I saw that Geffen Records was on there. I just thought they lived there, and I'm like, that's where I got to go. And that was the goal until I turned 18 when I moved out here and went to music school.
Well, I remember one day driving by Geffen Records, and it didn't hit me till years later, but I saw them all standing outside one day.
Oh, fuck.
And I'll never, because I remember Steven Adler's hair, and I remember Slash's top hat, and it's like, wow, that was them. It was probably right around when they first signed the deal. And,
right.
There's a great.
Were you into them right from the get-go? Did you see them before they broke? I mean, because I didn't know about them till probably Live at the Ritz. When MTV aired Live at the Ritz was when I found out who they were, and I just went crazy for it.
Well, I remember I used to play hockey on Sunday nights in Culver City, and at the time it's where the Kings practiced. It was a real ragtag group of people. You had the black mailman from OJ's Mailman.
Yeah.
We all call him Black Bruce. Shout out to Bruce Thomas out there. He's probably still delivering mail to Rockingham. And Rocky George, the guitar player from Suicidal Tendencies.
Oh, okay.
Played too. And he's famous because he's missing I think half of a finger or something, and he's still like a great guitar player.
Yeah.
He would tell everyone about this new group, and everyone hears that, the new actor is going to make it, this comic's going to make it, and you just blow him off. And he was right. So but they were kind of glam before they
I remember. Well, they were huge fans of Hanoi Rocks, weren't they? Wasn't that the story?
Yeah, they were fans of Hanoi Rocks,
Mike Monroe, and they really had that thing going, that whole image going.
Well, they had it was first, people always casual fans were like, well, where does the Guns part come in? Like,
oh, well, yeah, Tracy
Guns.
Yeah, he was the original guitarist.
And they kind of bailed out, and then Slash, who was fresh off his audition for Poison.
Yeah, didn't get in because he wasn't attractive enough, is what I'd heard.
Well, apparently he came into the audition in his hippie, suede pants and, water moccasin boots.
Yeah.
And they looked at him like, what the fuck? And then CeCe DeVille came in pretty soon after in pink Chuck Taylors and platinum blonde hair, and they're like, this is our guy.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like how Ace Frehley got into Kiss. You talk about a guy who's probably pretty bitter. Bob Kulick had the gig, but he was bald and he didn't really look like
right.
But he was a great guitar player. And then Ace comes in with two different shoes on, kind of like Boone.
Right. Yeah, I remember hearing that description. Yeah, two different Chucks, right?
Yeah, and he just walked past. They were basically saying to Bob, you got the gig. Ace apparently just walked right by him, plugged in his amp, and started playing. And, they're like, well, you're kind of a dick, but you're more what we're looking for.
Unbelievable.
And then years later, Bob's brother Bruce gets to be in Kiss for 12 years.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, dude, my when I moved out here, went to music school, my teacher was the guy who discovered Kiss, discovered them, and told the whole story of how he discovered them. It was Kenny Kerner.
Oh yeah, Kenny Kerner.
And what he said was, he was trying to get into the business, and he went to Bill O'Coin and told him, what can I do to get a job with you? And he said, grab that stack of stuff that people have mailed in, see if there's anything worth a damn in there. And he said, and I saw their picture, and I didn't even have to listen to music yet. He goes, I knew what they were going for. It was pretty crappy version of it, but he said when I put the music in, I knew what they were going for. And then I think he went on to produce their first two albums and the live album.
Yeah, Kenny Kerner and Richie Wise.
Yeah.
And it's funny you mentioned that story. There's a book right there called Rock and Roll All Night Party Every Day, which is the story of not just Kiss, but the Village People,
right? Donna Summer, and
that was the number one label in the late 70s.
But they weren't the only rock band on there. It was major a disco label.
Well, they had some weird groups that I don't remember. But not like Foghat, but they had some weird acts like that on there. But Kiss was, didn't really matter who they had. Kiss, so much money, and people, I think, kind of forget how big the Village People were. It's you laugh at them
selective
now,
memory,
and they still tour.
Oh yeah, and they wouldn't be touring if people weren't going out and seeing them.
But back then they were almost as big as Kiss. They were on every talk show, and it was just, I didn't know they were a gay group. Do you now? Well, here's the funny thing: only one of them was gay in real life.
I know. Wasn't it the biker?
I think it's the guy who died of AIDS, but that's just an assumption.
Yeah,
that would be Glenn Hughes.
The singer was married to Felicia Rashad at one point, wasn't he? Before Ahmad Rashad was?
Well, they had two singers. I think Victor Willis, and then I forget the name of the other singer. And then. Now, here's a crazy story. I was just in New York.
Right.
And they say one of the first people to jump off one of the towers on 9/11 was the brother of the he wasn't the singer in the Village People, but the military man.
Okay.
Taller. I think his name was Alex Briley. Just kind of an interesting side story.
Yeah, I'm sure one of your listeners will know that story. They can help fill that one in for us.
But I mean, that's just, I think it was, they showed this iconic picture of someone having to make that decision. And he was the guy's brother. So.
Oh, man.
Have you been to New York?
I have. I went when I was in high school.
Dude, I got to tell you, you got it. Next time you go there, I went last week to the 9/11 museum. And
yeah, I wasn't there when I was there, but wow, I can imagine.
It's amazing. I mean, it's like not 4 stories, but it's pretty big. And,
4 levels worth?
Yeah, 4 levels. And they have this one room you go into, and it's all the phone calls that people were making. Like, and they just have it on loop, and the videos. It's like a Hall of Fame of that day, and they have fire.
What made you go to that? Were you going to go to that when you were there? Did somebody bring that up? Because the thing is, I know what happened. I really obsessed over that when it happened, but I think I might be at that point where I don't want to relive it. I don't know that I would want to go in and see all that stuff. I mean, I know, and I love history. I'm a huge history fanatic, but I just don't know if I could take it yet for some reason.
Well, if you talk to some of those truthers on Alex Jones' website, they don't think it actually happened.
Yeah, I know, man. I used to have one that lived next to me, and he used to drop off videos in my screen door.
All very, Capricorn 1, OJ. We never landed on the Mars.
Yeah, Alex Jones, and he would send that Michael Rupert. Do you know who that guy is?
I've heard the name.
Yeah, he believed that the whole thing was done by the banking industry, and
yeah, Bush knew, Cheney knew the whole thing. I mean, how could people be that stupid?
I mean,
whether you like Bush or not, he wasn't in on it.
No, man, I feel like I've almost just dropped out of politics altogether. I used to be a big fanatic, but over the years I would hear people in interviews, mostly musicians, go, yeah, it got easier when I realized that both parties were the same. And I would go, that's such a stupid comment, until I started really watching. I was like, yeah, really. I mean, they really are fighting over the same things. It's just they're dressing it up differently, and we're not really getting anywhere. So I kind of dropped off of even caring about politics anymore.
I don't vote. I mean, I registered the 1 year Schwarzenegger was running for governor, and I just wrote in the whole cast of Predator. It's like
is this cabinet?
Yeah,
dude. I was thinking about you yesterday. I was somewhere where Cheryl Hines was being interviewed. Do you know who Cheryl Hines is? She's the actress who is well, apparently now she's part of your family. She's the wife on Larry David, Curb Your Enthusiasm, and she just married Bobby Kennedy Jr.
She's black, right?
No, she's white. Bobby Kennedy was marrying a black woman, you thought?
Anything's possible.
No, he married a white woman, and she was talking about how your Aunt Ethel was pretty much running the whole show as far as planning the wedding and everything. And I was sitting there laughing, going, I know her fucking nephew.
Ethel's no joke, man. I mean, I don't see her at all, but she's 83, still on top of it.
That's what it sounds like, man. That's from what I heard.
There's a great documentary my cousin Rory, her youngest sibling, did on her on HBO, I think about a year ago, just called Ethel, and it was awesome. So.
Oh, awesome. I'm a huge fan of documentaries and history, so I definitely like to check it out.
I mean, there was in the first 10 minutes video and pictures of my parents I'd never seen before.
Oh, wow.
Just video of the wedding,
right?
Stuff like that. So
that happened to me last year, man. I went back to Ohio for a visit, and my cousin came and she goes, I found a VHS of Christmas of '87, and your dad's in it. Would you like it? And there for a split second, I have my dad walking and talking, and he died when I was 8. It's
oh, really?
I haven't heard his voice, and and to actually see him on camera, it was just one of those weird experiences.
Is your mom still alive?
My mom's still alive. Yeah. She lives in Ohio, and she's probably, I'm exact replica of both my parents combined. A lot of my sense of humor of the craziness is my mom, and then the dryness of of like not really liking to deal with people, and
Right.
like, that's definitely my dad. And that's why I'm into the music I'm into. My dad would play like Alice Cooper and The Who and stuff, Jethro Tull from the time I was like a real little kid. And my mom played like funk and like Motown and stuff like the Allman Brothers band. So that I pretty much was into everything.
It sounds like Slash's parents.
Yeah, totally. I mean, in fact, when I got moved out here and I met Slash, I said, I'm going to music school. What do you think I should? They just keep telling me to play the Beatles, and like I'll learn from playing the Beatles. What do you think I should play? And he said, go get Aerosmith Rocks if you don't have it already. And so when I went back home, I went through my mom's record collection and grabbed her Aerosmith Rocks, and it's definitely my favorite Aerosmith album.
Well, Slash, I remember reading his book, said one of his favorite bands, like when he was younger, just as he was getting into music, were the Cars.
Really?
So you wouldn't think, a guy like Slash would be into, but he's like a big fan of Elliot Easton, who's like one of the few left-handed rocker guitarists.
Yeah. Wow.
So, I think a lot of those guys have eclectic music taste.
Well, you and I are both Weezer fans.
Oh, yeah.
And when I moved out here, I was a huge Weezer fanatic. They hadn't put anything out in a long time. But I got into like Rat because I saw an old picture of that guy at school wearing a Rat t-shirt.
Yeah, Rivers Cuomo.
Yeah.
He's like a big metal guy.
Yeah, he is. And so, yeah, like I had this factory job, and this girl there was like a closet like metalhead. She was like 5 years older than me when I was 18. And I would just like jokingly came in one day with like a Motley Crue Dr. Feelgood shirt on, because I was really listening to it a lot, and I was like, oh fuck, I don't care if anybody makes fun of me. And she showed up about 3 days later, dude, and she had a trash bag full of her concert shirts, and they all fit me, and it's all shit you would have loved. It was the World Series of Rock tour with Whitesnake, and I think Triumph was on that, and Kicks, and she had the Rolling Stones Steel Wheels tour shirt in there. She had one of the Whitesnake tours with like the snake head, all these shirts, and then like all these buttons, like Poison buttons and Guns N' Roses, just hooked me up. So when I came out here, I was totally into that stuff. I snuck into the Rainbow when I was like 19 and would meet all those guys.
I just got turned down by Kix' publicist.
For this?
Yeah, it's like, come on, man. Who wants to talk to Kix other than me and maybe their parents?
What was their big hit? They had one really
they had the
great
one
ballad.
big one, Don't Close Your Eyes.
Yeah. Don't close your eyes.
And then they had, I think, Cold Blood or Cool Blood, something like that. They had like one other minor hit, but their problem was they just weren't good looking dudes.
Oh yeah, that was really all it was about back then, wasn't it, man? I mean, if you think about it, that was probably a lot of the appeal to wrestling, was that it was bulked up rock stars. Ultimate Warrior, Rick Rude, Jake the Snake. Those guys were they looked like rock stars.
Well, that's the my favorite era of Alice Cooper. They had this. And this guy turned me down too, kind of. The great Kane Roberts.
Oh, really?
He had the bazooka guitar because he looked like Rambo.
Yeah.
And he kind of was he was into it, but then when he found out he had to come to me, he's like, he's kind of, he didn't blow me off, but I could tell he wasn't really coming down. I only live in West Hollywood. It's not like I live in fucking Diamond Bar.
Right. They're not slumming it, and you're not that far.
Some of these people, I'm working on one guy. He literally lives 2 blocks from me.
Blackie Lawless?
I can't say who it is because I think he's going to end up doing it, but... You don't
want to weed him out before he says yes.
Yeah, so because I know he listens, but Jesus Christ, he lives literally 2 blocks from me. I see him at the supermarket. So I'm hoping to,
Is it somebody big or like? Somebody...
I mean, big to me, but I mean, that's the thing, with this podcast is, you're a podcast aficionado.
Right.
You listen to Rogan and Joey Diaz. And,
right.
Those guys get big guests.
Right. But you know what, dude? Some of my favorite guests are people I was not like, are small. Not small. Okay. Here's an example. I was listening to our buddy Dean Del Rey's podcast. He had the guy from the guitar player from the Bullet Boys. I wouldn't consider the Bullet Boys a huge band, but that was one of the more interesting podcasts that I'd ever heard.
Oh yeah,
because he really went into like a lot of the detail on like what eras, because he's like they were really only a band for like 2 years, but he's like we went from this to a drug habit to this, and then I was ready to, like, and I didn't know anything about him.
Well, they had that one hit. Their big hit was "Smooth Up in Ya."
Yeah,
and then they had a kind of a minor hit with the cover of that song from The Apprentice, "The Love of Money." Money.
Oh, yeah. Well,
my friend was actually the drummer in him for like a month.
Who?
His name's Brent Fitz, and now he drums for Slash.
Oh, right. I used to know Slash's old. That's actually how I met Slash. Was his old drummer Matt Log.
Okay.
I was at the Rainbow one night, and the Rainbow was closing down, and one of my buddies was talking to me. He goes, "Hey man, this guy's the drummer of Slash, and he wants to go to this after hours party with us. You want to ride with him and show him where we're going?" Because I'd been there before, and on the ride over there, the guy starts like playing music and shit in his car, and I knew what it was, and he goes, "How old are you?" I'm like 18. He goes, "How are you in a bar at 18? I go, "I just, And then we started talking. Next thing I know, the guy like had given me his number. He goes, "Hey, I'll give you Slash tickets if you want to come meet him Wednesday. I'll let you meet him after the show and this and that and whatever." And the guy had ended up going to the music school that I was going to, and knew all my teachers because he had taken classes from some of them. And actually was like such a cool dude. I ran into him at Kimmel like 6 months ago.
That's a good band on Kimmel.
Yeah, he wasn't in that band, but he was in. Who was he?
He must have been in Snake Pit. Slash's Snake Pit?
Not 6 months ago. He was drumming for somebody who was like on a solo tour. I forget who it even was, because I just ran into him and I was like, oh wow, would never guess he was drumming for that. He was like a hired gun at various points, but
well, that's where the money's at. You just go from band to band.
I know, man. When I went to, that's actually what killed music for me in a way, was when I went to music school, you go and you have all these dreams of like, they're going to teach me how to be a rock star. They're going to teach me how to like just shred or just whatever. And a lot of it was like, okay, we're getting you ready to be able to get hired to be a studio musician or a touring musician, like basically teaching you how to fit in with, basically like teaching you generics, the scales, the modes, whatever, all the actual stuff to it that you could get any gig with,
right?
How to dress to get any gig. And I was like, that's almost exactly what I didn't come here for. I came here to like develop myself and get weirder, not get, more universal. So I stayed there for about a year, and then I got a job at a record label and left.
Well, I mean, that's those guys who do studio work. I mean, they make so much money, but it sucks because I think a lot of them can't say they were on the album. I don't know how it works now. But.
Yeah, no, I'd heard that. I think you've mentioned it, but I'd heard the same thing about Gene Simmons, that it was that they were paid people to play his parts on some of the albums early on.
There's been more fucking ghost musicians on Kiss records in a haunted house. I mean, the bass player in Kiss on the albums anyway.
There's a black dude, wasn't it?
This guy I have an issue with, Jean Beauvoir.
Why do you have an issue with Jean Beauvoir?
Because I was a fan of his. He was in the band The Plasmatics before Kiss, and then he was the studio guy, and then he had one hit that was on the Cobra soundtrack, "Feel the Heat."
I know that song.
And then he had this band called Crown of Thorns, which is actually a really good band. And on the first album, the drummer was the great, sadly departed Tony Thompson, who a lot of people don't know this about Tony Thompson. He was going to be the drummer in the Zeppelin reunion.
Really?
But he got into a very bad car accident and he couldn't rehearse. And then
now Robert Plant doesn't want to do it at all.
Well, they could do it with Bonham's Kid, but that was their shot. If you go and I watched it today, their set from Live Aid, where you have the three surviving members, and then they had two drummers, Phil Collins, and Tony Thompson.
Well, did you see? I mean, I think it was 3 months ago. Robert Plant issued like a statement because I guess Jimmy Page had been complaining in the media saying that Robert Plant wouldn't agree to do a reunion tour or anything, and Robert Plant said, "I've moved on. I played those songs enough. If he wants to keep playing them, I can't help him anymore. I tell him to get a new hobby." I was like, that is awesome, because this guy Robert Plant's been consistently for the last however long been making records, and he's making the kind of records he wants to make, like these old 60s psychedelic bands that people barely know of, where these guys lost their mind on drugs and like ended up in insane asylums. He's making like tribute albums to them. It's crazy. It's like he's doing a completely different style of music, and has no interest in doing Zeppelin again.
Well, he can afford to have that added. They all can afford it. I mean, they're all worth like, each guy's worth like a couple $100 million. I mean, you know how much publishing those guys pull down a year? And forever it'll be like that. Everyone buys a Zeppelin.
Well, and this you'll love. How old do you figure Robert Plant is right about now?
He's got to be late 60s.
Probably older than that, man. Wouldn't you guess? Well, anyway.
I mean, I'm 46. He's got to be at least 20 years older.
Anyway, around there, I go out to Joshua Tree quite a bit, and there's a restaurant out there that everybody goes to. Like all the local musicians go out there, hang out, and they get up and perform and stuff. And inside there's pictures of Robert Plant, and everybody in there was saying, yeah, when he came in here, he had like an 18-year-old girlfriend. I'm like, that's
good for him.
Yeah, I was like, that's still a fucking baller move.
Oh, dude.
If he can still get it, he's gonna get it, man.
Well, Ted Nugent, I mean, he loved those young
girls. Well, I mean, and he was marrying them too.
It's a different era back then, though. I mean, you could be Winger and have a song called "She's Only 17" and you get a platinum record. Now you'd be getting jail.
That's true, man. You're right. Well, and then there's another song where
Kiss.
Well, no, there was there's some other song where the whole song's about him singing about like being in love with a 17-year-old girl and knowing that it's wrong. The whole song, it's like basically like Jesus.
Kiss had that song Christine 16. And like in the chorus, Gene's like, that day I saw you coming out of school, I just knew I've got to have you. I've got to have you. And then Ace wobbles off into a guitar solo. But it's like, Jesus Christ, you couldn't have a song like that in this day and age.
Fucking wobbles off.
Oh, well, the Ace, he was a lost soul back then. Now, what was your main musical instrument that you played?
I played guitar.
And who were your influences?
Slash. I really liked that Weezer guitar sound. And there was a band called Pavement that I was really into. I liked his guitar sound, which was kind of funny because I think the weirdness in their sound was that they weren't great musicians, so they would grab an odd key or like an odd note here and there. And I remember some of the classes, they'd say, bring in a song and we'll dissect it. And I remember bringing it in, and the teacher was just like almost holding her ear, and she was just like, oh, I don't know if I can listen anymore. This is like maybe some of the worst musicianship I've ever heard. And I was like, that's funny that, she can't look at it as music. She looks at it as a different thing, a different thing altogether. Yeah, totally completely different thing. And another friend of mine said the same thing. He goes, I listened to this, man. He goes, I feel like when you go to record, you should have practiced the shit out of the song and just nail it. And he goes, these guys sound like they're almost half making it up on the spot. And I go, that's what I like about it.
Well, you should track down that teacher and show her Vinnie Vincent's 1.5-hour guitar instruction video.
Does he ever instruct anything? Because
no,
I saw
he just plays
some of his guitar solo, and they said that was the main reason they had to get rid of him, was like the guitar solo is just, they went from like being 4 minutes to 8 to 18.
He was out of his mind. I mean, there was a great YouTube clip of him Kiss in Montreal, Lick It Up tour, and he's doing his solo, and then Gene and Paul are kind of.
Did you ever get to see him live in any way? No,
never. The first time I saw Kiss was in 1991, Long Beach Arena, Hot in the Shade tour with Winger and Slaughter, which is kind of funny because Slaughter was the Vinnie Vincent invasion, basically, minus the original singer, Robert Fleischman, who sang on the first Vinnie Vincent album, but he was the original singer in Journey.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he sang on the demos, and then Wheels in the Sky, I think he wrote or co-wrote.
Holy shit.
And
wow.
Then, I think someone from the record label was like, we need someone with a more anthemic type voice for radio, and so he got kind of fucked over. But
back then they could do that. I mean, isn't it such a crazy business now that you would never...
Welcome to Hollywood.
You never. I mean, I remember when I was doing a band. I remember the guy who was recording me. He was also in the band. We moved to California, ended up in the same hostel together. and we're the only two from our entire guitar class that are still here. And he even said when we were recording, he goes, the beauty of our style is that we can keep playing this till we're 50 because nobody cares what we look like. This style of music, just nobody cares anymore.
It's a tough business, man.
Well, look at Flaming Lips. For crying out loud, dude. They've got to be, I think he's got to be almost 50. And he's got Miley Cyrus on her Instagram doing Photoshop pictures of her and him in various scenarios almost every day, multiple times a day. He's got like a 20-year-old girl obsessed with him all the time.
That's great.
Yeah, right.
I wish I did.
If you're going to have somebody doing it, it's got to be somebody that's extremely popular like that. Thank God.
Is that helping their record sales?
It's got to, because their new record is it's a tribute to well, I don't know if you know anything about them, but
I don't.
They're maybe one of the most inventive bands of all time, but one of the things they did about 3 years ago is they redid the entire Dark Side of the Moon album, their style. Took all the songs, even changed some of the tempos, but they said, like, we wanted to see what you could do if they had the instruments that we have now, and we wanted to make it. So they made it, a tribute. Now they just released one of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club, the whole thing, the whole album, their way, and she's all over it.
Oh, wow.
Her, I think, and Moby is also. So it's a pretty big deal. I mean, she performed with them on Conan O'Brien, and
I mean, that is interesting to see. Like, what would Jimi Hendrix, how would he play if he had like a, 2014 Jackson Flying V?
Well, not only that, dude, but I had friends that were big Hendrix fans, and when I started playing, that's what I learned how to play was Jimi Hendrix and Jimmy Page and stuff like that. And he only used really two pedals. He used a fuzz face and he used a Vox wah pedal to get like the basically, for lack of better description, the Hulk Hogan NWO theme, that kind of guitar sound, that chunky, that stuff. He only used really those two pedals. Now you have guys that have like modulating consoles that have literally over 100 effects that they can program and loop, and they can play one riff and just loop it through the whole song, and they can solo over that. They can do whatever they want. I watched a guy come up with a percussion beat on his strings just by like playing them like a bongo, record a measure of that was the drums. Then he put the bass on with like his low string of his guitar, had that looped in, and then was playing solos through the whole thing. And you're like, he doesn't need a band now. And imagine what Jimi Hendrix could have done if he had any of those kind of pedals and the kind of technology they're using today.
Oh yeah, I mean, you see Steve Stevens from Billy Idol. His thing he uses in concert, it looks like a piano. I mean, he's got so many
more power to him, man.
Why not? It's the great Steve Stevens.
Well, man. And you're getting to a point in music where like so much has been done that why not experiment with it? Experiment with what you can do. That was one of the cool things about Flaming Lips that when I first got into, if you were trying to replicate their sound, it was fucking hard to do because their guitar player was this crazy electronics maniac, and he would go to thrift stores, buy pedals, and then he would take them apart and rewire them and get his own sounds out of them. So you could never get that sound unless you were him.
Sounds like Tom Scholz from Boston.
Right. He was known for doing crazy shit like that, wasn't he?
Well, he was like an MIT grad. So he was so smart. He was probably too smart for his own good. They recorded the whole Boston album, which I think is might be the best-selling debut ever.
More Than a Feeling was probably the opening song, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it's one of, if it's not the number one debut album of all time, it's in one of the top three.
Right.
They recorded it in his garage.
That's awesome.
He set up a great scam where the record company paid all this money to fly the band to LA to record, and he kept the money and bought all this gear.
Brilliant.
And created some of it. And but he's kind of famous for not releasing just anything, and he takes forever, and that's, I think, what killed the singer. He's like, I want to just sing.
Right.
And so
that's a rough one, man. That's really rough. And that's why I quit doing bands, is like when you have a lot of guys, you have a lot of people that you have to accommodate schedules to, and it holds you back. I mean, being a comic's perfect for that. You have nobody else deciding when you're doing your gig. It's you. You don't have to.
You do actually.
Well, but you don't have to go, hey, is the drummer going to be available that night, or is he going to have to watch his kid? Is the bass player going to be at a wedding that night? I was encountering all that shit trying to set up tours.
Well, that's the good thing. But then the bad thing is if you're, if you're in a shitty band, you can turn around and blame the drummer for not being able to keep a beat.
Right.
If you're a shitty comic, you can't turn around at the curtain.
What do you do? You know what's funny, Earl, is I would say that you're probably one of the funniest people I know.
I would agree with that.
Hands down.
Just kidding.
No, hands down, man. From the time that I started going to the Comedy Store, and I hope you take this as a compliment, but you're one of those guys that when you grew up watching TV shows, there was always that fucking one guy on a TV show that was the memorable one. Whether it was fucking Cliff Clavin or it was it could have been anybody. You're that guy just naturally.
Like the guy in Green Acres. He wasn't
Mr. Haney. Yeah, you're that guy. And I think I noticed that about you right away from the back of the room. The shit you would say, I would go, this guy is one of the fucking funniest people I've ever heard. And I feel like nobody gets to see that side of you outside the Comedy Store. And it's like nobody's, a lot of the Ding Dong Show stuff, it's such a like kind of small group but everybody loves you that's in it.
Oh yeah, I mean,
it's like I if I were your agent,
I don't have one.
Really? See, that's the thing. I would say that your agent's failing because what they should be sending you out on is those kind of zany parts because you just have a natural thing about you. And I feel like Dean Del Rey's the same way. You guys both have just this, you're you and there's no acting about it. Like you're just a unique comical character just being yourself. And you're likable, really fucking likable.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of 15 years into the business, there's a lot that's out of your control. And
definitely there's a lot out of your control, but
the funniest people you'll rarely see make it.
I know, isn't that
sucks?
That is funny, man. That's funny how that works. But I always believe that the good people do end up winning in the end.
I mean,
and you're a good guy to everybody. You really are. You there's nobody that you wouldn't help out.
I mean, I'm not really I can't really help many people out. I mean,
I'm saying as a person, man, you're just you're willing to help people. You give advice. You warn people that are starting out what to look out for, what kind of gigs not to do. You're real good about that shit, and you don't take advantage of people.
Well, I can definitely tell people what gigs not to do, or I see these female comics specifically, mainly at the Comedy Store, and I see these creepy guys. There's this one comic who's just known to be a creep, and he's just a drunk. And
I know who you're talking about.
And I told this one girl, who he was moving in on. Hey, you should watch out for this guy. He's, I can tell you what he's going to do. He's going to ask you to tour with him, and then he'll try and fuck you.
Yeah.
And if you don't, he won't, mysteriously your tour dates will disappear. And that's exactly what happened to her.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
For someone who has,
for all the jokes that are out there about the casting couch and shit, there's a reason those jokes exist.
Well, it's out there in comedy.
For real. Yeah, it's happening for real. There's no question.
Oh, yeah. I mean, especially if you see like a female comic, who's not been doing it a long time, and all of a sudden they're opening up for someone at the Improv. I mean,
Yeah.
But it happens in the gay comedy world too. I mean,
I was gonna say there's a lot of people that rise in the ranks that I don't understand at all how they're getting anywhere.
Well, it's just schmoozing and ass kissing, and I was probably myself just speaking from my thing. Thought, I'll just work hard. And that ain't enough, man.
No, it's not, man. It sucks because that's not my personality anymore. When I moved out here, I was very much I could go into a room and talk to anybody. I'm not so much that way anymore. I don't really.
You have to, dude.
I know. I don't really like talking to a lot of people. I don't like small talk, and I feel like a lot of times that does hold me back. It's funny though that somehow being at the Comedy Store, my personality's kind of popped through enough for me not being as social as I used to be, that I've actually been able to make friends, because a lot of times I'll go there and the whole night just not talk to anybody. Purposely. Like I just go and hang out and hide away and just don't want to talk,
Yeah, but everyone likes you up there, and
for the most part, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have any enemies, but you're also not trying to do comedy, so you don't
right.
really.
That's one of those things. It's just like Don and a lot of people have asked me about that, like why I don't want to do it. And it's like I was in a band for like fucking 10 years. I just I don't have the need to perform in front of people anymore. I always enjoyed the recording of the albums more than performing live. And now it's the same way. I like filming stuff, but I don't really care for performing it. Did you have something to say, Earl?
No. I was going to say, what brought you to the Comedy Store? I mean, it seems like everyone ends up there instead of the Improv, the Laugh Factory. What? I mean, were you just driving by and...
Well, I got into podcasting, and Joey Diaz was the first person that I was listening to, and he talked about the Comedy Store a lot of his stories. And then a lot of the people that he would have on as guest, I was a huge fan of. And they pretty much all performed at the Comedy Store. So Sam Tripoli and I had a mutual friend, and Sam and I found out we were friends, or we were big Clippers fans. So I had an extra ticket one day, and he went to a game, and he started inviting me to the Comedy Store. And I think it was like the second time I went, Tommy was working the door both times. Your boy Tommy Morris was working the door, and I think the second time he goes, "Oh, Sam Tripoli put you on the guest list again. You must be a pretty important guy." And I think he just thought maybe I worked for an agent or something like that. And he just, ever since then, whenever he'd see me, he'd just wave me on in, and that's how I pretty much started hanging out.
And now I think he's doing the opening of an open mic. So,
well,
the mighty have fallen.
He's the talent advisor to that place.
Well, I hope
as he said. Well, I mean, let's talk about what the text message I sent you last week, Earl. Do you remember what I sent you?
Well, you sent me the video, right?
No, I didn't.
Send me a video.
No, I didn't send you the video, but
someone did.
I was I left the Comedy Store about midnight, and I walked home. I live pretty far away, but the events in the night, I had ended up with a bunch of different people, and I didn't have my car, so I walked home. And I passed by this place that we had seen Tommy earlier. He was sitting at the bar earlier the night of this opening for this comedy club. And as I'm walking back, I look in the window, and he's playing acoustic guitar.
There you go.
Nobody really listening. A couple of people like milling around the front doorway talking or whatever. And I go in there and I sit down with an ex-waitress from the Comedy Store who works there now.
Laura, she's the best.
The beloved Laura, who was fired, unfortunately, for some ridiculous, in my opinion, she was a very great waitress and didn't deserve to be fired.
Yeah, I've known her the longest, though. This is like I met her like 7 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, her boyfriend at the time, the great Fred Fortune.
I know nothing about her story, so this is news to me.
Well, I try not to tell too many stories like this.
No, but I know you're respectful about things.
No, I mean, like,
I would love to.
I'm sure people are going, "Who the fuck is Fred Fortune and who's Laura?" And
right.
Laura's a great waitress at the Comedy Store, and I met her 7 years ago when she was dating this comic, and so I've known her probably the longest out of anyone here. And she invites me to do her show weekly, and I say I just can't be in the same room as Tommy. I just can't.
Really?
So,
well, let me finish my story, and then we'll get into that. So I walk in, and I start listening to Tommy with his eyes closed, singing his song. Sound like probably an original song. And he gets done, and he starts tuning his guitar strings. One of them had went out, and as he's tuning it, he says hi to me, and he says, people are going to wonder, they're going to ask me, why are you helping this club out? And I'm going to say, because they asked me to. If anybody asks me, I'll help them. And then he starts checking his guitar string by playing dueling banjos, the theme from Deliverance.
Well, there you go. I mean, that doesn't sum up Tommy. I don't know what does.
I immediately thought of you, Earl. I immediately thought of you. Now, I understand that, Tommy definitely did not give you spots, and Jason Galern and Jason Tebow and people who I think are really fucking funny. Do you hate him? That I mean,
No, I don't hate him at all. I mean, probably the most popular, not in terms of numbers, but the one that people come up to me the most of every episode I've done of this show is the Tommy episode that I did with Amy Hawthorne and Matt Edgar. It's weird. You would think me and him would be friends because
he always said hi to you. You guys always talked in the hallway. I mean,
like the same show. He's a big Sons of Anarchy guy.
Right.
I tried to get him into The Shield because it's done by Kurt Sutter as well, and we like the same music.
And you're a funny guy, which like I would think that your type of humor would be of interest to him. In fact, I know what he likes about Dean is that he says like, Dean's doing like something that nobody else nobody else is doing that kind of thing, that kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
I mean,
he gives
I
him
don't
spots.
know. I don't know what got.
Did
lost.
you call in for avails and he just wouldn't give you spots? Or?
Oh no, I didn't even get to that far with him. And then toward the end, he was like doing these really weird things. Like he told someone very, very, very high up at the Comedy Store, Earl's the next guy I'm going to pass, and he knew that they would tell me. So within 2 minutes of him telling this person that, I get a phone call, dude, you're going to be passed, within the next couple weeks. And I know in my heart Tommy just did that just to fuck with my head.
Why?
So, I don't know. I'd never. I mean, I did an impression of him, but everyone did,
right?
And
you made it fucking funny.
But I mean, so there's no other reason. He just, I think, and I've stood up for him in the.
Because I remember there was a period of time where you wouldn't come to the Comedy Store anymore.
Well, it's just what's the point,
Right, you didn't want to be around, and Tebow did the same thing. I remember it was like you both. I asked you, I was like, "Are you guys okay? I haven't seen you in a while," and you both said like, I'm not going to go there anymore. If I'm not doing spots, I'm not going to be there.
Well, I mean, yeah, after a certain point, it's like,
Are you getting spots now?
I mean, I'm not passed, but I've
no. Well, dude, I don't think anybody's been passed since the changeover. Have they?
Well, no, I think from what I understand that, I don't talk to Adam about. Adam's the new talent coordinator for those of you who don't, know the Comedy
from the
Store
Great Norm Macdonald
roster.
Podcast.
Yeah, no, he's a funny guy himself. Although he's not a comic,
yeah, he's another one. Yeah, he's just got a unique personality that.
Yeah, he's like almost like Christian Bale in American Psycho.
Yeah.
But I don't talk about spots with Adam because we were friends long before. So
right.
I never wanted.
But isn't he the guy you put your veils in with? Or?
Well, now, but it's they're called development spots. So it's the final step before getting passed. So, and then you showcase, and then hopefully you get passed.
Now, do you have an hour that you're working out? I know I feel like now I'm interviewing you, but I do wonder because our friend David Taylor, maybe one of the funniest people I've ever met. Also, I put you in. If I could have a dream podcast, it would be like you, Don, and David Taylor in a room together, because David Taylor never. When you go see him perform, he never does the same set twice. And then all of a sudden, he did. He was doing the same set. And I asked him about it, and he said, yeah, somebody here saw me, like an agent saw me and said, you really need to put together an hour's worth of material that you're working on instead of just going up there and like, doing a few things here and there and then like insulting the crowd. You can't really get away with doing that especially if you want to be on TV. And he does. He wants to be on TV. So
everyone does.
Yeah. So, I mean, is that something because I've seen you a handful of times and I never see you do the same material unless I provoke it, unless I ask you about like.
Well, I've got
Vinnie
the classic bits, there's the gay sports bar bit and, which is a true story, actually.
Yeah.
I've probably got, hours of material. I'm not saying I could sit up there and do 5 hours.
Right, but like, what would you showcase with? Have you thought about that?
Oh, yeah.
How you would set it up? Do you ever go up and do a set and go, I'm going to pretend this is my showcase night and see how it goes with the crowd?
6 minutes showcase. I mean, people don't understand, I think, TV sets on like a typical late night show, Conan or
right
are 4.5 minutes.
And not only that, but what we found, Paul Morrissey said, he's like, Then you put together a 4.5 minute set. Something happens. They're interviewing somebody, and the next thing you know, during the show, you got a guy coming up to you going, "Hey, by the way, you got to take it down to about 4:05 now."
Yeah, and that's very
because this person's running long, and then it's now you got to take it down to 3:37, and you're thinking, "Holy shit, how do I trim a bit down to that, or what bits can I do that will fit into that exact time frame?"
Or they'll just cut you off. I mean,
right.
They'll have Winston play the bugle or something. Well, I mean, I saw Ian Bagg once. I went with him when he did, I think it was Ferguson. Not the city, but Craig Ferguson, and it was crazy. Like, he's about to go on, and he's like, "Hey, you can't say that word now." And there's like literally 30 seconds before he was going to go on, they had to switch some joke or something along those lines, and then it was very controlled of environment. So,
right.
But
I don't think I would. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff I don't think I would enjoy doing.
But you have to play the game. I mean,
absolutely.
You want to eventually get on TV because that's if you look at any comedy club marquee, it's not necessarily the funniest people on the marquee. It's who has the TV credits.
Yeah, so, you're definitely getting right about that.
But and in some cases they are the funniest. And
did you ever have an interest in becoming a wrestler?
No, I'm not big enough, man. I mean, I'm only about 6'1", 200.
Yeah, but you have the whole personality. Like,
I could be a manager.
You would have been great for that kind of character role, though. Like being in a character at all times. Oh, manager. Yeah. Have you thought about that?
Yeah, the travel's too much for them. I mean, they're on. But I would love to. I used to go to XPW shows, which was
yeah,
like
man, short-lived,
low budget ECW, but 100 times more violent. I mean, some of the stunts I saw was just like, they threw Vic Grimes from a scaffold onto a bed of nails, and these were real nails.
Wow,
these were not fake. And his whole back is bleeding. The nails are stuck in him. They're trying to get out the nail. And I mean, these were like
right, like those 8-inch nail or 6-inch nails or whatever. Yeah,
like if you saw the Addams Family, I forget who slept. I think it was Uncle Fester.
Yeah,
sleep on a bed of nails.
Yeah,
that's what it looked like.
Holy cow!
And I've seen. They had this bald guy named Supreme who was like a short King Kong Bundy, and this one show at I think Birmingham High School, he almost got killed twice. And this girl next to me is crying, and she had a kid. I'm like, "Well, why are you crying? It's not that, it's not really real." And she's like, "That's my husband." So
whoa,
because they put him up on this 40-foot ladder, and they to this day I still don't know why the ring was configured like this, but they had 3 sides had ropes. The one side didn't, so he was so fucking fat.
Ran out of ropes.
Well, yeah, absolutely. They probably had to use ropes in the bondage thing they were doing the next day. Supreme was so fat that the ladder broke, and he fell on the edge where there were no ropes, and his rib cage literally hit the edge.
Oh,
and he was down for like 20 minutes. And so then they got him back up there again.
Did they count him out, or did the match keep going?
No, they were just kind of making sure he wasn't dead. And then they put another ladder in the center of the ring that was even bigger than the first ladder. So you knew this thing was going to break.
Yeah.
And what the stunt was going to be is they tipped the ladder over, and he's supposed to land on this like almost like a pool table of like broken light bulbs, shrapnel.
Oh, Jesus.
So they tip him over, and he overshoots the table he was supposed to land on and lands right on the cement. It was crazy.
Oh.
And this was live, and the wife is right next to me, or girlfriend. And
Mistress.
Then he was down they had to stop the show.
Did you put your arm around her, make sure she was all right?
It's like, I'm not messing with Supreme's girl. And then they were great because the ring announcer would do the Nazi goose step to the ring.
That's awesome, man.
Oh, he was great. I don't remember his name, but he was in like a Nazi outfit, and he'd be going like this to the ring.
Man,
and then,
that's the only place you can get away with that kind of crazy nonsense, man.
But then they had this gay wrestler named Angel. And his finishing move was, whatever he would do to you, he'd like hit you and like do his scorpion death drop or whatever. And then you'd end up on all fours, and he would pretend to have anal sex with you 3 times. Like instead of And it was it was wild stuff like that, just.
There's got to be footage of this out there.
Oh, yeah. I used to buy their DVDs. I think they got shut down because Rob Black, who was the owner of XPW, had on their website, he had a picture live, like a Skype type of picture of a puppy somewhere, and it could have been in his garage. And they were advertising that they were going to kill the puppy live on the internet, and I think they got
Jesus.
They got shut down.
Wow.
PETA or something.
Have you considered tracking any of those guys down and have them on the podcast?
Those are people I would love. I would love to have the Rob Black on. Just to go, what were you thinking, man? I mean, what was, because you want when I first started this podcast, it's like I just want to interview my friends and just get something out there, and then you kind of see the numbers aren't the greatest. Although now I think people like this one will get good numbers just because people are like, oh, okay, Earl's,
they're catching up on that, yeah.
But back in the early days, not very many people listened. So that's when I started to reach out to, celebrities to varying degrees.
I would say to any of your listeners that haven't listened to all of them, the David Arquette one might be one of my all-time favorite podcasts. You want to talk about a guy who
did it all.
Couldn't have been more positive. If you're looking for any kind of motivational speaker or anybody to kind of motivate you, listen to that podcast, because throughout that whole thing, he just keeps going back and telling you why he's so positive and what you have to believe in your head, but when you go out and live in the world to be happy. And I thought that was an awesome podcast from a pretty big actor.
Yeah, but the problem with that one, with the numbers anyway, is he's not on Twitter, he's not on Facebook. So I did the best I could.
Right.
When Stephen Piercy was on, he sent out one tweet, and I literally got like 400 listens in an hour.
Wow.
And same thing with Bobby Brown, the Cherry Pie Girl, and Tawny Katane sent out one tweet. Rob Schneider sent out a tweet and literally got 500 listens in like 20 minutes because he's got like 180,000.
I was showing Jeff Richards your picture from the Rob Schneider thing, and he started doing the Earl impression. What do you think of that?
It's pretty good.
Do you like it?
There's one other guy. He's a Death Squad fan, Freddie Correa, and he calls into Punch Drunk. And
oh yeah, that's who's doing it. Okay,
yeah, he does a great Earl impression, but you got to really like Richard's. Probably, I would say the best impression of me is Stuart Thompson does a good one. He's a comedy store, really funny comic at the store. He does a pretty good one, but I would say.
It doesn't offend you at all? I mean, because I know you're a guy that doesn't take a whole lot seriously or a whole lot offensive or anything.
That's why I haven't made it yet.
But a lot of people wouldn't like an impression of them.
Well, I think Dean Del Rey had, I don't know if he quite liked it when Sandy was doing it.
Well, what he didn't like was, like he said, he's like, you're basically doing my material before I'm up doing it, or the nights that I'm doing it.
I don't think Sandy was doing any jokes that Dean would do. I think Sandy was just almost Dean's such a character.
He had nailed it. Yeah, he had nailed it. It was funny to watch, but yeah, I mean, I could see not wanting to do him. Yeah.
So, I mean, Sandy's a great impressionist up there. Tebow does a really good Boone Shakalaka.
He did a really good Jason Galern standing right next to Jason Galern, and I got the feeling Jason didn't like it, and I was like, yeah, I don't know if I'd like it either. I don't know if I'd like somebody figuring out my mannerisms and the things that are weird about me, and capturing your essence.
I have to get Jason Galern back. A bit of Inappropriate Earl history. He, along with Jason Washington, were the very first podcast. They were episode 1, but unfortunately, I was recording it through something that wasn't plugged in. So it's the first ever episode of Inappropriate Earl sounds like I was recording it through a faucet. And that's a bit of a history. That's an unaired episode that I've tried to clean up with some of my tech friends who are, and that's one of the cool things about getting fans like Death Squad fans, Ding Dong
Oh
Show
yeah,
fans,
those guys
they
can
try and
figure out
help
your
you.
problems for you. Yeah.
So, and I'm very computer illiterate. I don't know much.
I'm the same as you, man. I can barely figure out how to hook up a Nintendo to a TV. So
I mean, Ari Manis, who's really was the producer of this show before.
I think Boone's been aggravating him.
Oh, really? Well, Boone Shakalaka, for those of you.
Lots of shoulder rubs without consent.
Yeah, Boone is a homeless, transgendered freak.
Soul singer.
Yeah, but he's actually, he hangs out at the Comedy Store. He's one of the. If you ever go to the Comedy Store, you'll meet him.
Or if you're looking to meet him, go to Amoeba Records.
Yeah,
I can't count how many times I've been walking around and seen Boone sitting on the floor of the R&B section looking through CDs.
Yeah, basically Boone steals merchandise from stores, goes up to the Comedy Store and sells it for $1. And he's kind of a comic, I guess you'd say.
He performs, so
to a degree, and he's in he's got to be 60 or something. So he's literally the Comedy Store to me is always the best way to describe it to people. Because we had a lot of Canadian listeners and people from beyond. It's like the bar in Star Wars.
Yeah, it is. Anything goes. The crazier, the better.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally every Star Wars. The cantina was I think the line was every unsavory character in the galaxy is here. The Comedy Store, every unsavory person in the world of comedy, LA comedy is there. I mean, you've got pimps, pedophiles, coke dealers, freaks, normal people.
Have you always attracted just kind of weirdos?
Yeah, anywhere I go.
I always have too, man. I always have. I've always found the humor in the people around me. I was thinking of you yesterday, actually. I was at this place and I was sitting next to this girl, and next thing I know, she lifts her legs up as though she's stretching them out and then lifts her fucking legs all the way behind her head, Earl. She starts telling me she's an aerialist and used to be like an award-winning stripper. And she moved out here is not going to do that stuff anymore. But to entertain me the rest of the time we were there, she kept doing shit like that. Or she'd get up and start dancing like a stripper. And then she did a handstand and was moving her legs around just doing all this crazy shit. So I was like, you have to come to the Comedy Store with me.
Yeah, well,
these people have to see this in action.
Oh yeah, I should probably get. I don't. The Comedy Store is the best place on earth, but it's. If you're a girl who can put your legs behind your ears, it might not be the best place for you.
But what I told her is, I said we'll go up there and hang out, and I said you'll find all kinds of different scenarios where you can do ridiculous things whenever you want. I said if there's ever a place that you can just do a fucking handstand out of nowhere and nobody think a thing of it, that's it.
Oh yeah!
For God's sakes, people have gotten blowjobs on the stage as part of an act.
I was there that night.
Well, it's happened more than once, from what I understand.
Well, just the other night, after Ari Shaffir's comedy special taping, which was great. He killed it, and just a good buzz up there.
Paid
there was
regular.
Some crazy stripper there toward the end of the night, and Kenny Lyons, who's a young comic up there. He's kind of crazy guy, but he's pretty funny.
He's awesome. Yeah.
He's one of the new characters.
Yeah, he's definitely a character.
He was begging her to touch or see her tits, and she's like, "Well, you got to do something. You're not going to just do that for free. How about?" And she points to Sunset Jesus.
Kevin. Yeah.
If you've ever been to LA, you've seen this guy, a huge guy who walks around, looks just like Jesus. That's Kevin Lee Light.
Less wounds, but yes.
Yeah. I mean, no wounds in the hands, but I think he's on Facebook as Kevin Lee Light, or he's just known as Sunset Jesus. She points to him and goes, "Well, suck his big toe." And Kevin walks around all day. So,
yeah, in sandals.
So the foot at 3 a.m. probably has a pretty good funk to it. And Kenny, without hesitation, started deep throating.
Oh, were you watching this?
Kevin's toe, and then she said to Kenny, "Get on the cement," and she sat on his face for 5 minutes. So
panties or no panties?
Panties.
Okay.
So that's what you see at the Comedy Store. You're not going to get that at the Improv or Hermosa Magic Club. So
have any of your girlfriends had problems with you going to the Comedy Store?
Well, my last 3 really, girlfriends or girls I was dating seriously, have been in the entertainment business. So
but they didn't perform a lot there, right? Did they?
No, not really. So yeah, they have because
you know what I was getting. I would get a lot like you start dating them and they know that you go to the Comedy Store and they go and they have fun with you for a while, and then all of a sudden it becomes, well, I don't know what you're doing when I'm not there. And those guys are a bad influence because I know the kind of stuff that goes on when I'm there, and I can only imagine what goes on when I'm not.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I can imagine a lot of relationships have ended from people just hanging out at the Comedy Store.
Oh yeah, because it's there's a lot of innuendos and rumors, and I mean, I lost one girlfriend because of the Comedy Store. Someone told her, Earl's fucking this girl, and I wasn't actually.
Right.
And
can I tell? I'm not going to say who the comic is.
No names.
Yeah, I'm not going to say who the comic is, but a very great comic and somebody that I have a lot of respect for. One night told me. He said, you've been accepted by the people at the Comedy Store. And those people, you think that they're your gang. You think that they're your buddies, and you think that a lot of them are your friends. And he goes, and that's what I thought. And he goes, but what'll happen is, he said, a lot of those people will have a way, or they'll have a project they can help you out. They can put you on. They can do something. He goes, but they won't. And then you'll get there on your own. He's like, mark my words, 5 years from now, your face will be on billboards, and those will be the guys, those will be the people there that come up, and you don't ever do anything for us, Mr. Big Shot. You don't help. You don't put us in anything. He said, you'll see people stab you in the back as quickly as they can. He goes, so know who you're talking to and what you're telling them at all times.
Keep your friends close and your enemies close.
Exactly.
At the Comedy Store. Like, I know, like, if and when I do eventually get past, I don't think there's too many people who will be like, oh, that shouldn't happen.
Right.
But I'm sure there'll be someone.
Everybody loves you. Yeah.
Angling, why'd Earl get past? I was.
He must have done. Yeah, you're gonna hear it all here,
and that's me. So I can only imagine what people who don't.
Is that your number one goal in comedy? Would you say?
No, it's definitely not.
What is your
get on TV?
What are you looking for?
Well, I'm looking to. I mean, the only reason I want to get past at the store is not to get my name on the wall.
Right.
Because frankly, there's homeless people who have their name on the wall.
Yeah.
I mean, literally.
Yeah.
Right. I would say probably 30%.
Are you talking about Bob?
Yeah. I mean, his name is on the wall.
Yeah.
So that ruins anything in terms of that meaning much. And sadly, I'm being serious. And there's, I would say, 30-40% of the names on that wall haven't worked in 15 years or shouldn't have their names on the wall in the first place.
Right.
So that's, it would be one thing if every name on the wall was Louis C.K., Carlin, Pryor,
right.
Whitney Cummings, D'Elia.
Think of how many of those names, Earl, that you mentioned on the wall are just like people that we were talking about earlier that did a couple of spots, fucked a couple of people, and next thing you know, they were up on the wall.
Oh yeah, and I think it's well known under the previous talent coordinator that some people were passed purely on non-comedy reasons. Let's just say that. So I just want this. Like the other night, I got to go up in front of Bob Saget.
Right,
and
dude, who is a very fucking funny guy. A lot of people don't get his dry humor, but I think he might be. When I saw him on Entourage, maybe one of the best characters anybody's ever done on a TV show.
Yeah, I mean, if it was just guys like his name on the wall, Norm Macdonald. Rob Schneider. I go, okay, then I would love to see.
How was your set in front of Bob?
I'm not gonna lie. I rarely kill. I always do pretty well, but I think I was inspired. Like, wow, comedy legends watching me. So I really stepped it up and went to some of my, I don't want to say A material, but like I know he likes kind of a dirtier humor.
Yeah, he does.
So I did my Philadelphia joke and. not the city. I have this joke that I will only do if I know I have the crowd in my hand, because it's a risky joke. It could turn the room, and it real quickly is, people ask me, Earl, you live in West Hollywood. Have you ever seen the movie Philadelphia? And I'm like, listen, if I want to see a guy dying of AIDS, I'll just go to Pavilions. And I literally saw Bob Saget tear up. And he was with this really hot chick, and
probably hot young.
She was crying, like
That's
laughing,
awesome.
and then I just went into another gay joke.
See, you'd be a great person to be going on the road opening for him.
Yeah, but that's
in front of that crowd.
That's the only reason I want to get past at the store, because
To get other
just to get an
credibility,
opportunity to perform in front of a Bob Saget, or maybe one night I'm on stage and maybe D'Elia walks by, and he's never really seen me go up before.
Right. All pretenses aside, like, how do you feel about seeing, if you follow the Comedy Store Twitter, seeing Now Up doing a pop-in set, John Mayer in the main room? How does that fucking strike you, dude?
I mean, he's a nice guy. So, and one roast battle, he was the funniest part, which is a wacky show. I think everyone knows what roast battle is by now. I mean, Rowdy Piper got passed by Tommy, and he's great.
Yeah.
So it's just like like I said before, it's not. You just have to realize in the comedy world, the funniest people don't get past. Although under Adam, I think it will go a little bit towards that.
I hope so.
I mean, I don't think you're gonna. I don't think. I don't know who Adam's gonna pass.
I hope he doesn't feel the pressure of, like, I can't pass this guy, yet, because people think because he's my friend I passed him and I gotta wait,
But I mean,
2 or 3 rounds to do that. Because, man, you've seen the changes that have been made in the last probably year. We never know what's gonna happen. For all we know, I mean, they could sell the place. Adam could be gone. All these managers could be gone at any day. Things just are changing.
Oh yeah, I mean,
more than they ever have before there.
Everyone comes up to me just knowing that me and Adam are friends, going, "Oh man, you must feel really happy and like psyched and
right." I bet I heard people thinking that.
Listen, and there's other people I know who are friends with him who I don't even know if he knows this, but are like, I just think they just assume they're going to get passed and they're going to get like, middle of the lineup spots. And like, I know even if I do get passed, if I'm going on right before dawn.
You're getting David Taylor and Matt Edgar spots.
But that's more than what I get. So
absolutely.
And
and you don't do the Laugh Factory at all, do you?
I would. I've done it. The last time I did it was on Rob Schneider's show. He has a weekly, when he's in town, he does a show there, Rob Schneider and Friends.
Yeah.
And, which originally was supposed to be at the Comedy Store. But Tommy was so rude to him.
What happened?
I wasn't there, but I've heard from many people who were there that Rob
discounted Rob as a comic or what?
I don't want to. I don't know what his thought process was, but he basically kind of blew him off and said, "Come by Sundays and Mondays," which is at the time.
He said that to Bert Kreischer as well. Like
worked the parking lot
when Bert Kreischer was like had hurt Bert like. A national show or whatever, and Tommy's going like, "Yeah, come back Monday. I'll see if I can you can sign up for the open mic."
Yeah, so
and it's like,
and told him to work the parking lot first.
Yeah, ridiculous.
So, I mean, but my only goal is just to, at the Comedy Store anyway, is just to get past so I can be seen in front of working comics who can hook you up with gigs.
Now, what's your career like? I mean, as far as like, what are you trying to? Do you want to be on a show? Do you want to be a touring comic? What is it? Because I don't think anybody knows what your.
I play it close to the vest.
I know, that's why I'm asking, because I think you're a fucking really talented guy, and I think you're one of those people that age will never matter.
What?
You could become the biggest thing in the world and you're in your 50s. There's just something about your personality that will hit. Whether it's you having to have gray hair before, whatever it sells, but you will hit somewhere.
I hope. I mean, I act young, and because I take care of myself, I'm not like ancient looking.
Yeah, you're a pretty fitness guru type guy.
But like I've
Some
never
question your motives and why you're at the gym so often and tweeting about the gentleman that you're working out with. But
if I didn't work out, I would have killed either myself or someone by now.
Do you have an obsessive personality? Because you and I both have a fanatical shoe obsession. You and in fact, I got to compliment you. Have I think putting on a different pair of shoes every day is kind of one of those things that makes me feel like I can get rid of a bad day or whatever and just start fresh every day. You have an amazing amount of shoes.
Well, yeah. I mean, I do things to excess, which is good and bad. It's like I don't do drugs or drinks, so
right?
That's not doing something in excess, which is great. I work out like a maniac, which is, good to a degree. I do comedy like a maniac.
Ball hockey.
Ball hockey is like the only thing I do that's like nothing to do with comedy.
Yeah.
And it's a great hobby to just no one talks about the business. And so, I mean, what do you do? I mean, you must have one non-entertainment hobby, music.
Yeah, now I have a dog.
Very cute dog.
Yeah, he's awesome, and I hike a lot. Like I used to be really heavy, so I always have to. I always have to be doing something, push-ups or just something physical, because I can very easily fall back into the habit of not doing anything, just blowing off exercise altogether. But I'm also like a big fanatic for like this town. Not so much the modern stuff, but I like the old history of it. So I like to go track down where like Clark Gable used to go hang out, a place I read about in books, and Vincent Price and people like that. I like to kind of see the history of the town, the way they saw it.
I mean, so many iconic movies have been filmed here, and like every time I drive by Nakatomi Plaza.
Yeah, absolutely. Die Hard, but it's like I live,
just the Fox building.
I live at the foot of Bronson Canyon, and Bronson Canyon is where the Batcave is from the original Adam West Batman.
Oh wow! I didn't know that.
And it's also when I met Kevin McCarthy from the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers movie, he said all the scenes of me, climbing the mountains to get away, those were all done right there in Bronson Canyon in that hill. So it's just I find that kind of shit cool. I was a huge Vincent Price fanatic, and he donated most all of his life's collection of artwork to East LA College. So every once in a while, I'll just go over there, park, and then I'll just go look through his collection. They have it in the halls, and they have it in a little gallery there. So,
yeah, I mean, you need something other than the entertainment business if you're in it.
Oh, it'll kill you. It'll tear you down. I mean, you'll second guess everything you do in your life based on.
Oh yeah, and
being in the entertainment business, whether you're too old or what car you're driving to your audition or whatever.
Who gets what gig over you, and so I like stuff like that too. Like at the end of this street, in West Hollywood, I live on it's a gay club now. But
yeah, I took Sunset and was willing to sit in more traffic just to not have to make that turn. Because once you slow down, I have this vision of all those guys just jumping on my car, and
it's pretty cool here. I mean, they know if you're not gay, they don't mess with you. And
but there's just
and this is
100 people walking that little, because you have like kind of a narrow street. There's like 100 people crossing there. You can't hardly get through there most times.
Oh, it's like
all clubs.
Ant farm of horny gay guys just looking for wiener. And
you said you've gone outside and you see people fucking in the bushes.
I've seen guys doing whatever in the bushes. I'd take Lois, my dog, for a walk, and I cut through the alley. There's guys boning in there, but it's gone through a couple changes. Now they're making it into a gay cowboy bar. It's like Coyote Ugly, but I guess it's like huge.
Where we filmed the Windy City wedding?
Where it's not.
Wow.
It's not Club 11 anymore. I think it's called Blazing Saddles.
Oh my God. Of course it is.
I can't wait to see people ride the bull in this place.
Earl, you and I are both guilty of at the Ding Dong Show, especially throwing around the faggot word.
Well,
Do you ever catch, like, I mean, I feel like you and I use it maybe the only appropriate way, which is we always use it at somebody who's a major homophobe. Somebody who like, we never would use it to anybody that would be insulted. We use it to people who would hate to be called that themselves. We always use it for somebody like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can use any word if it's funny. You could say the N word if you better make sure it's funny.
Right.
You know, I had a white comic friend of mine opening up for Chappelle, and
from where I'm from, actually.
Yeah,
near right at Dayton, like the town he lives in. When I go back to Ohio, I'll go hang out there, and like everybody there's like, oh, hang around long enough, he'll be through town. There's literally one supermarket in the whole town. They're like, he'll be through at some point. He takes his kids to school. Like, if you want to meet him, he'll be here at some point.
And that's, when he's here, it's the same thing at the Comedy Store.
Yeah.
The best is seeing him do a late night spot. Like one time he did the OR and there was like 7 people in there, and he did like 2-3 hours, and it was great. And at one point it just was the audience asking him questions, and I got my 2 cents in there.
Yeah, so. I did too, and I got yelled at by somebody at the Comedy Store for asking questions. I go, well, he said he was taking questions, so I don't understand what the problem was.
Well, I knew.
In fact, the comment was, don't ask your stupid questions. This isn't the Ding Dong Show.
Oh, well, welcome.
Which I feel like was, I felt like I was getting treated the way they treat you, actually. Like, discounting our
greatness.
Well, dude, I mean, I know that I think what we do is a big part of the show. In fact, many people that come from out of town have told me, they're like, you and Earl should have a microphone all the time.
Yeah, but I like to duck in and out.
I know, I agree, but it's like even people that are in this show as recent as last week have said, like, I wish you guys had a microphone more often so we could hear what you're saying. And I'm like, maybe that's the only show that it's appropriate to yell out the kind of shit we yell out.
Yeah, I mean,
the format of the show is like, you and I have been fans of it for long enough. We know how to. We're not fucking with people. We're provoking some sort of topic for them to get going on, usually.
Well, it's controlled chaos.
Yeah. Tennessee absolutely fucking detests that you walk in and go, Tennessee, you piece of shit. I watch his face now, and he actually grits his teeth waiting for Don to like say something to you. And I hope you do it forever, because I love seeing that. He's such a fucking asshole.
Because I don't care what Tennessee thinks.
He's a fucking he's an old pervert, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, dude, you walk around whipping your dick out in your shorts and like looking like I don't know, alfalfa from the Little Rascals, talking your gibberish. I'm gonna attack. So. But the Ding Dong shows, we could do another podcast on that show with the characters, the schizos and the Jessica Shores.
Well, let's talk about your character.
My character's just me.
Yeah, but you do, in the roast battle, you do like the house racist. And you and I were talking earlier, like there's coming a point where people are starting to recognize you for that. What do you feel like? I mean, people know you're joking, but do you feel like that's hurting you in any way? Has anybody said anything to you in the industry like, hey man, you might want to not do this very long, or have you got, what have you gotten out of it?
I mean, I had someone come up to me today who's like in the business at my gym, and he just kind of looked at me and was like, dude, I don't really know if that's how you really want to make your mark. And
because Ari kind of went through this. Do you remember?
Oh yeah, The Amazing Racist.
Yeah,
it didn't hurt him.
No, and it's because he didn't. I think it's because he didn't give a shit what their opinion was of it.
But at some point you have to,
right? And that's what I wonder if what do they have a plan for what's going to happen with that show? What was New York? I mean, New York was like a film or it was a comedy festival, right?
Probably the second biggest comedy festival outside of Montreal. So it was a big deal to get invited there. And, we sold out 500-person theater, the Gramercy Theater, and we killed before we got there.
And who were the roasters for that?
It was 4 roasts. So 8, it was Ari Shaffir and Big J. Okerson, Bonnie McFarlane against Mike Lawrence, Jesse Joyce against Kurt Metzger. And then...
How's Kurt Metzger? I like a lot of his... Facebook rants and the way he.
Well, him and Jesse Joyce were friends, our friends, so they, they knew each other, and the show was good, not great. All of us, for me and Whitney,
Was it received well by that audience?
I mean, I think they would go back.
Yeah,
not one person walked, and it actually the crowd got bigger as the show went on.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, it was standing room only.
Because you guys have really only. I mean, I know you did it in the main room before, but have you?
No, we've never done it in the main room. We've done one show in La Jolla.
Yeah, but the belly room's kind of the home of that, and it's like
it is.
People are jammed into that room like sardines, and that's like a cool thing. What was the vibe there? Was it? I mean,
it's a huge theater, so the ceilings are high, and they're because of the structure. Me and Whitney had to be on the stage, and the Negro Wave was kind of in the back of the stage, and they had like 60 audience members on the stage, and I'm not.
That's weird.
So that was kind of a weird element, and I think the crowd for me and Whitney were like, because we're sitting in front of a big sign that says whites only, and the people are like looking at us like, are we supposed to laugh at that? Are we supposed to not like them? So in my first line, it didn't bomb, but it didn't do great. And
what was it?
It was Jeff. Jeff always sets us up. Jeff Ross. He's so respected in any room, but especially in New York because he's
nice
Jeff
guy
Ross.
Too. Yeah.
So he's like, "Hey, house racist, how was your flight here?" And I'm like, "Well, it was great because we flew further away from the Beaners, but now we're closer to all the Puerto Ricans." And that was like the tamest line. But I thought, well, we'll dip our toe in the water with that.
That's fucking funny, man. That is really funny.
And then Whitney was like, we're not racist, we're realists. And then I think my second line.
Are they saying the same thing to her? Are they telling her like, "Hey, get out of that show"?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what people are saying to her, but, but I'm assuming. I mean, she's going to be a huge talent in this business. I mean, because she's funny.
She works. She works hard. She's always posting a new like character video,
dude. And I've only seen her work ethic and talent in one other person in terms of a female.
The other Whitney?
Yeah, the Whitney Cummings. I mean, I started with Whitney.
Right.
At least when she moved out here, we started doing rooms together. And you saw the same thing with her. Like, she wouldn't, go to the Comedy Store and party. She would network. And
right.
She would go home and make a video. And that's what the second Whitney does.
Well, yeah, a friend of ours told me one time that the difference between her and what everybody else had tried to do was the reason that it worked for her was that most people would not associate with anyone below them, and she would associate with people above and below her, and
oh yeah, I mean,
and really not rule out anybody as a possible collaboration or collaborator for any project.
Well, I think Whitney Cummings' best asset to this day probably is she can walk into a room of 100 people and figure out within under a minute who can help her the most, and she goes right over to him.
Wow.
And she's not like there's other people we know.
Have you heard how she kind of got started? Or at least I know what I've heard.
I think she was a model or something. And
she was at a kind of a Q&A kind of thing where Jay Moore was at and was blurting out questions, and Jay Moore thought she was interesting and funny and told Barry Katz, you got to meet this girl that just kept asking questions or something about her. Like, at least that's what I heard. It was something like that.
Well, that's how Whitney, the second Whitney Rice.
Right.
If you should look at this girl's videos on YouTube. It's Whitney Lee Rice.
Yeah.
She
does a lot of character, like I almost say like Carol Burnett style.
Yeah.
Has a lot of like different type characters with makeup and.
But she and this goes to show you why I want to be, passed at the store or whatever.
Yeah.
About 8 months after doing the roast battle, I was just running out of ideas. It's hard to be racist and funny,
right? Because you've told me, you're like, I don't want to bomb any more than anybody else does.
And it's pressure up there. It's 100 people packed into a tight space. Like last week, the judges were Sarah Silverman, someone else really famous, and Joe Rogan. So
right.
And Joe.
That's like his first one there, maybe, or something like that.
He loved the Tommy impression, which is basically what I'm.
Yeah, which is like a gold seal, man.
Oh, he.
Dude, talk about a fucking nice guy. Joe Rogan made his return the other night, and I was back in the back behind the kitchen in the kind of the smokers area, hanging with PJ, and Joe Rogan came back there to light up a smoke before he went on. Yeah, and immediately walked in and was like, "Hey, how's it going, man? Good to see you." And shook both of our hands out of nowhere, just being a nice guy. Like at the moment he walked out, good guy.
Oh yeah, very nice guy. I mean, the guy lives a great life. I mean, what a racket he's got where he's with the UFC 2-3 times a month. He does a theater
and he
show.
made that job.
Yeah.
From what Joey Diaz said on his podcast, he's like, Rogan was a fan of the UFC when it started and went and said, "Give me a free ticket and I'll do your commentary for you." And it made his own job, basically. Turned into a job as it got bigger and bigger.
Because I don't think a lot of people realize he actually does mixed martial arts. Well, he's like a 4th degree black belt.
Not only that, he was like a jiu-jitsu champion throughout high school. And when he graduated and was 18, he was teaching at, I think, Boston University. He was teaching jiu-jitsu there at 18. He was like a college professor there.
That's the same thing with Jeff Ross. I think he is the youngest black belt in New Jersey karate history or something weird like that. But Rogan actually does it and at a high level. I mean, he probably could fight
definitely
in the UFC. He might not be able to beat the top guys, but I'm sure he could beat some of the lower tiered people.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard that he would spar with Eddie Bravo quite a bit and or roll with him anyway. It's that's going to keep you in the top of your game.
Well, George St. Pierre, GSP, said that Rogan's got the best spinning round kick he's ever seen.
Who's surprising is a jiu-jitsu guy who actually rolls every single day is Ed O'Neill, the great Al Bundy.
He's got his black belt from
done it for years,
and he's got a legit black belt from Rory and Gracie, who founded the UFC.
I mean, that dude, what an interesting guy.
He could kill you.
Oh yeah, and I remember somebody on Death Squad one day, on the, all the Twitter and everything. Somebody actually posted on there as a joke that they'd like to see that, and I was like, yeah, that'd be pretty interesting. And they're like, oh, Rogan would kill him. I go, you don't know that. Ed O'Neill's been doing it for a long time. I mean, the dude's been training. I mean, he says he rolls every single day. I wouldn't want to fuck with the guy. But and he's a guy that I'd actually like to hear Joe Rogan maybe have on there, and not a lot of people know about him. But
Sorry, I had to take a pee, guys. I
could have kept talking, but I thought it'd be funnier to see Earl doing the turtle walk in here, trying to get his pants up.
I drank 3 bottles of water. A lot of vitamins today.
Yeah. Are you still hooked on the Hot Rod 5000s? A lot of people had kind of mentioned that you don't mention those anymore.
I mean,
not endorsed anymore.
I take them for maintenance.
Maintenance in what fashion?
Hot Rod 5000 are dick pills that I get from N101 in West Hollywood, and they work. Let me just tell you that much.
Ask Nicole Perez.
I mean, I'm in my mid-40s, so you got to do what you got to do. And then as I turn the channel, we got a Viagra commercial on with some twat. So
you and I are getting to the same point, man, where I it used to be just funny when I would hear you say stuff like that in the back of the room, but now I really feel like I'm getting to that age where I'm like, yep, I missed the boat All the good ones are taken.
What's true?
And the rest of them are just pathetic, lying sociopaths.
These girls in LA, man, you give them 10 inches, they want 11. You know, you got a condo, they want a house.
I was the one that turned you on and unleashed you on the Tinder community there for a while.
Well, I had to get off of Tinder because my data coverage was blowing up. I mean, I got a phone bill one month for like $300. I'm like, oh, well, I guess if you don't.
Well, dude, I mean, in fairness, I remember sitting next to you in the back of the room and you weren't even looking. You just had that thumb going to the right. Like, I mean, I'd never seen a dealer fucking flip cards that fast.
I was on Tinder so much, the right side of my phone literally fell apart.
But I noticed when I'm on those kind of places, what you have to do is first off, if it's only face shots and it's angled down, you're looking at a big girl. That's the universal hiding symbol. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that whatever they put on their profile, they're probably going to be the opposite. They're telling you what they wish they were, and it'll take you about 4 times of going out with them to find out that they're exactly the opposite and that they're psychotic.
Oh, I mean, I did it for fun, and I wasn't seeing anyone at the time.
Right,
so
that's when I do it. Just pure boredom, like
it's harmless fun, and I met a few girls off of Tinder. It's okay. I mean, I got kicked off of Christian Mingle for asking a girl if she took it in the ass. So,
what's the problem with that?
Well, I guess if you're not a priest, they don't appreciate that.
I think what we find out about you, Earl, is that you're a misunderstood individual.
No, I'm pretty understood. I think people, my problem is I'm too honest. So, I don't bullshit. I'm certainly capable of it, but I am what I am, and
well, dude, people that like you love you. I mean, have you considered doing any kind of merchandise for the show, like Earl shirts or anything like that?
I will when I get to a certain level of fame, if I ever do. I've always hated comics who sell merchandise and nobody knows who you are. It's like,
right.
What's the point? But that's just how I look at it.
Right.
I certainly, because of my look, the glasses, the hair, the body or whatever, I could probably come up with a pretty funny T-shirt.
I mean, just you doing the Rude Awakening alone would rock the house.
Yeah, like I bought a T-shirt.
Yeah, did you?
Rick
I've never
Rude.
seen it. Did you ever receive that shirt?
Yeah, it's like a yellow shirt with Rick Rude flexing his abs and like a cartoon character. Our caricature.
Have you worn it yet? Is that what you wear to the
or
gym?
Once
anything?
to the gym, and I go to a gay gym, so these guys probably wasn't the best shirt to wear to a gay gym. Probably the only worst shirt I've ever worn to a gay gym was, I have a lot of 80s metal shirts, and no one really pays too much attention to me in them. And then one day there was just a particular day where people were staring at me, winking at me, kind of like cruising. Cruising me is what they call it in the gay world. And I'm like, well, why? I'm just wearing a shirt with the band Jackal on it. And it's just says Jackal and, band picture. And they were famous for the chainsaw they would bring on stage.
Yeah.
But it was really puzzling because I'd never received this much attention before. So finally I get home and I'm like, what's on the back of this shirt? I've never really looked. And on the back was 3 sentences: rock me, roll me, jackal me off. So, And
on that note,
yeah. What do you got? I mean, I could go on for the next 3 hours, but we are already at an hour and 45 minutes. Which is,
shit, man.
I mean,
and let me ask you this, Earl: how many copies of that shirt do you have? Because
just one.
I was at a swap meet one time, and they had a ton of like old, like 80s like rock concert shirts with like $300 price tags. And I remember taking a picture and sending it to you, just as a joke, going like, "Hey, you ought to come down here and buy this." And you said, "I have 4 of those."
Well, I have. I won't, and I don't like talking about the hockey jerseys anymore because I'm not really in the hobby anymore. But I probably have the world's largest sports memorabilia collection in terms of jerseys and whatnot. But I also have a very, and this goes to the obsessive compulsive disorder that we might have. I also have a couple hundred 80s metal shirts.
Holy shit.
I'm talking vintage ones, not very many. I buy. It's always been my thing. I buy at least 1 to 2 shirts from every concert.
You know what I always wanted was I saw back in the day they had these Quiet Riot, like the baseball type shirts, and it had the Quiet Riot dude with the mask on.
Right.
I always wanted those. They never released any of that stuff.
You could get them on. Actually, I'll show you the link. I bought 2 shirts yesterday. From this company that does, they might be illegal reproductions because
I'm sure
Kiss letting this slide, but they had a Kiss Animalize like a baseball type of 3/4 sleeve shirt with Mark St. John on the in the picture, and Mark St. John was only in Kiss for like 9 months.
Yeah, wow.
So I bought that and a Vinnie Vincent Lick It Up tour shirt, which you never see, and I guarantee you they would have that Quiet Riot shirt.
Holy shit, were they expensive?
No, they're $19, so they're not. I mean, they're not valuable at all. But I have like,
I don't give a fuck about like how authentic that shit is. I know what I like, and I'm gonna wear whatever I like.
Oh, I don't care. That's what I love.
I'm wearing a fucking Ric Flair shirt today.
Yeah, I mean,
limousine riding, Rolex wearing, alligator shoes.
I've spent more money on spilt liquor than that's why I love.
And there's no way this is an original shirt. But
No,
what do
it's
I
all-
care? Fuck
Yeah,
it.
but
I just like them.
The original shirts don't fit. I mean, I have a.
Well, and that material's thin as fuck. I found an 81 fog hat shirt the other day, and I was like, oh, I can't buy that. I'd wear it for a day, and it'd have a hole in the armpits.
Well, you can sell them now. I mean, I could sell. I mean, if I sold every concert shirt I have, it's probably close to $20,000 in shirts.
Oh yeah, you're probably right.
I mean,
if
you
not
could,
more. Yeah,
like I have, a Vinnie Vincent '86. It says "Prepare to be invaded" shirt. I could probably.
Do you wear any of that stuff anymore?
I can't. It's too small. That's $300 shirt easy.
Wow.
I've got. Some early Rat shirts like from their first tour. That's $300 easy.
What size were you when you were buying?
I mean, extra large, but now they've probably shrunk to
they're probably
medium.
mediums. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
So I would love to sell them.
You totally should, man. I remember like set up a booth at some yearly rock convention or something, and then
I'm just too lazy. I sell a few things on eBay just to make a few shekels, but
do you have any like attachment to any of your stuff? Do you get attached to the jerseys or the shoes or anything?
I mean, there's one hockey jersey I would keep. If someone said, "Hey, you can keep one. We'll buy the whole thing and everything else." There's a shirt. The Rangers and the Sabres played the first sporting event after 9/11, and I think I've told the story before on the podcast, but newer listeners. The Rangers wore New York across their shirt, which usually it says Rangers, but they said New York. And the Sabres' usual logo is a buffalo head.
Yeah.
And for this game, they wore New York across it. And,
cool.
There was a fight in the game with this guy named Eric Bolton, and I bought his shirt. And
bloody,
yeah, because they made no replicas, no authentics. They made 20 shirts for the Rangers, 20 shirts for the Sabres, and that's it. That's all.
Did you call them right after that game, or how did you get this shirt? Was
they had
eBay
a auction for the police and firefighters after,
okay.
And the funny thing is, the auction was like a month after the game. So 40 shirts sat in the Rangers, locker room or wherever they kept them, unwashed.
Oh,
so
shit.
You had, I was so excited when the jersey came. I wore it to an open mic that night.
Oh, how bad did that fucking...
Oh my God, it smelled so bad. No one would sit near me. I mean, it was...
Have you washed it since then, or did you just hang
I
it
had
up?
to, and I think a little bit of the blood came out, but it's like the smell was ungodly. I mean, it smelled like Boone's breath. So that was that would be the one hockey jersey I would keep, just because it's a pretty cool, memento of an awful.
Are you the same way with your shoes? Like, because there are people that are like, they know the whole story of what issue that shoe was, like what year it came out, They have to get or you just buy what you
I
like.
just buy what I like, and there's not really. Well, I guess if I had to keep one pair of shoes, if someone said, "Earl, you're moving into a studio apartment tomorrow, you can only have room for one pair," it would be the pair of shoes they gave me when I did bench warmers.
I'll have to check those out.
Yeah, they're really nice Nikes, and they're not like some high-tech LeBron or Jordan shoes. They're just really basic. They look like baseball shoes but with no cleats.
See, the thing is, like, when you let me see your shoe room that day, the first thing I thought is, I'm like, he does with his shoes what I would have done if I were a wrestler, like Macho Man. I would have had about 35 different outfits and various different colors and various different things for just whatever. And I was like, that's kind of what Earl's shoe collection is. It's like the same thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, I just like, I think people are like, well, you're not really a famous comic. How do you afford all this? But it's really because I've never had a drink or drug in my life. I've got excess money.
Yeah.
Or not excess, but like I've got money to, if I drank or did drugs, I would not.
Well, and that's another thing that you put your money in that you can get your money back out of. People sell old shoes for ridiculous amounts of money, and your stuff's all in good condition.
Yeah. Well, with the jerseys, I definitely could. I have, but the problem with the jerseys is that I bought a lot of unknown hockey fighters jerseys who, they were friends of mine.
Right.
So, but with the shoes, I don't have too many valuable shoes. Like, I've got one special pair of Reebok pumps that were for some cartoon series or something. I could probably get like.
That's funny that's the one pair as a kid I always kind of wanted that I never got, were the Reebok pumps. Like, did they ever feel different? That was their big thing, was that you could feel the shoes get tighter on your feet.
Well, back then they did when they first came out, because there was no shoe like that.
Yeah.
So now you don't really notice. At least I don't. But
I know they reissued some.
Yeah,
last couple of years or whatever, you can get pumps now.
Yeah, I mean, you can go on any, there's one site I go on, since they're not paying me. I only have one sponsor, Stephen Piercy's Mike Knuckles. And I must thank, while it pops into my head, the great Stevie Rochelle from metalsludge.tv, who,
theme song.
Does the theme song. He had a band called Tough, and I shouldn't say had. He still tours as Tough. They provide the music to Inappropriate Earl, and
which is like the perfect. I do like the song that you use. It's very Inappropriate Earl sounding.
It's very 80s, and it was a big hit on MTV, for a bit, and that's just one of those things where they were really like the next Poison. They were like Poison B. Do you remember when you and I went to see Stephen Piercy? Oh God, it was like probably a year ago, and there was like a couple. The threesome.
Yeah, a threesome broke out in front of us. I mean, literally, all three of them are making out. It's a guy and two girls. It's like, one fat chick, one pretty hot chick, and the dude, whatever. And there's a guy who looks real preppy, standing pretty close to him with his arms folded, not being bothered by it or anything. And eventually the threesome breaks up. The concert ends, and you go up to that preppy guy and you say something to him, and I'm like, who the fuck was that? Do you remember that? Who? It was,
it was
like
it was Alexi Lawless.
Yeah, it was
the great, and I know he listens to this show.
I thought that was maybe one of my favorite moments. You're like, oh, he used to be one of the best soccer players of all, like in U.S. history or whatever. And I'm like, and there he is standing there watching these three slobs basically almost fuck each other in front of him.
But he might be the greatest U.S. Defender. He was a defenseman. In U.S. history, and he's a monstrous Rat fan. I mean, he is. Yeah, like,
you said he's at everything that you go to, right?
He's a Rat fan of my level, like in terms of like he's into it. And,
I would love for you to have him on here.
I'm trying. He said he would do it, but it's just hard to get. When you're Mark Maron, you ask someone to do it, or Joe Rogan, they're going, yeah, no problem. But when I get. these people, when I ask them, they're kind of like, I could tell they're like, well, who are you, and why am is this going to benefit me? And it actually will.
Yeah, of course. And
I mean, obviously I'm not on Mariner Rogan's
right,
level,
but you also have a much different audience than those guys too.
Well, it's kind of somewhat similar. I would say me and Rogan have I should say I have a similar audience to his from the standpoint of, I try and talk a little bit of MMA, and
yeah,
he's not really a metalhead, I don't think, but I'm not really into the, he likes to talk about the Martians and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so
right.
There really is, a lot of people think there's too many podcasts out there, and there's a lot of shitty ones, but if you have a niche, they are you can I don't think there are too many. Like, if you find your niche and you're good at doing
I agree, dude, and I think it comes down to the host. I think it comes down, like, I've quit listening to podcasts that I used to listen to just because their content gets lazy, or certain people talk so much about themselves that you get to a point where you're like, I'm sick of hearing about you. And you do a really good job of having interesting people that nobody else has on.
Well, that's what I try.
I like that.
I mean, you have to get these people, like, now I'm at the point, other than like having a friend on like you, but you have a great story.
Yeah.
So it's, you want to get like.
You ought to even have Bob Romanis on from Fast Times.
I try not to have too many repeat. I know Dean's had him on.
Yeah, but that was a while ago, and that guy has a band. He does his own thing, and I mean, he's a very nice guy.
Oh yeah,
I'd love for people to, even though he's not a sponsor, I'd love for people to go into his Bob's Espresso and kind of help keep it open, because that's at least from somebody like me and you. Like, I know you. You get excited when you see somebody that was in Miami Vice when you're at a supermarket, and I'm the same way. I did a movie with the great Ted McGinley, who was
ruins every show he's on.
Jefferson Darcy, and he was Stan Gable in Revenge of the Nerds, and
Happy Days. That bombed out.
Yeah, but one of those people that I was like, yeah, that was just a fucking awesome day. Got to meet somebody that I met when I was a kid or whatever, and. You're good about that. You have people on that are just kind of off the wall, and
well, yeah, it's like when I had Tawny Katane on. I mean, she does, and you want people who don't do a lot of podcasts. So when they do mine, it's like, oh my god, Tawny Katane's on this guy's podcast, and Bobby Brown, the Cherry Pie Girl. It's like, oh wow, I haven't heard from her in a bit. And. I mean, David Arquette doesn't do podcasts.
No. And like I said, that was one of my all-time favorite ones. And talk about just a fucking,
what is history?
Cool dude, man. He was at the Comedy Store 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I was talking to him. I said, hey, you ought to come up and check out the Ding Dong Show. And sure enough, man, he came up and spent the entire night watching the Ding Dong Show with, I think you came in, and we were all fucking with him, and he's a really great fucking sport. And I mean, this is a guy who's making boatloads of money off of the coolest club in town. I mean, he's got like marionettes and stuff. Yeah.
What's it called? Bootsy Bellows.
Bootsy Bellows. And then he's also the executive producer for
Cougar Town
and Celebrity Game Night with Craig Ferguson. So I mean, the guy's got a lot of shit going on, and he's still coming and hanging out with us, fucking off.
Yeah, he's one of us, man.
He is. He really is one of us. I mean,
and he's also a WCW world champion, which might have been the death of WCW.
Well, he. I don't blame him for that. Like, who wouldn't take that opportunity if somebody said, do you want to be a part of WCW for a while?
Well, he didn't want to do it, but
I know.
I think Bischoff, who I've tried to get on this podcast, but he lives in like Montana, but that would be a guy I would love to have.
Oh, yeah.
Just because
him or dude, you know who would do it? Vince Russo has said if people contact him through Twitter, he'll do their podcast.
Yeah, but see, I don't do anything over the phone. They got to come to me. Although I do have a new mobile setup that I can go to them because.
Well, I think he's in New York, but I'm sure those guys come out here.
I'm working on getting Steve Stevens on this podcast, who's the great guitar player from Billy Idol.
Oh, absolutely.
But I have a feeling that would have to be the mobile setup. I don't know if I could get him in here, but
why is he?
Well, I'm sure he'd be
that busy or what?
If you want to come to me, yeah, I'll do it. But he hasn't. My friend's trying to set it up, but I could tell it's going to be like Earl. You're going to have to go to him. But, I mean,
Are you were you a Wasp fan at all? Have you? What
not
about
really,
Chris
but
Holmes?
I know. Yeah, I mean, I snuck him into a rat show once because he bought me a. He said, "Hey man, I don't want any money. I'm just hungry. Can you go buy me a burrito?" So I bought him a burrito, and he got me into rat. And I snuck him into Motorhead one year, because my girlfriend at the time is their co-manager, and he's like loitering around the backstage door, and I was going in, and he saw my all access pass. He's like, "Dude, can I go in with you?" I'm like, "You're Chris Holmes from Wasp. How am I? Why didn't you sneak me in somewhere?" And I got him in there, and
Holy shit! How the mighty have fallen.
All right. Well, we are at the 2-hour mark.
Thank you for having me, Earl.
No, but the only reason I'm cutting it off is because at the 2-hour mark, the file jumps to another file. Like it splits in half, and it's frankly, it's hard for me to edit it.
Oh yeah, no worries.
Because I don't know how to edit.
That does make it difficult, then, doesn't it?
Well, with this, it's like if we end in the next 3 minutes, it's just one file. We put it up, and bam. So, what do you have anything you want the audience to be directed to, like your Twitter?
Actually. I had a Christmas movie that they're in negotiations for distribution, but they're actually selling it online that you can buy it, and it's actually like a really great Christmas movie. It's like a kind of a Christmas classic, and I think it's Elias Media Multimedia. I forget.
Is that a website or do they?
Yeah. Let me see if I can find it. But yeah, that's the main thing that I'm trying to get people to look at, because I wanted to make a sequel to it, and it was for being the first movie that I was in, it turned out to be actually a really good movie, and not a lot of people can say that something they're in wasn't a complete catastrophe for their first project. But yeah, I guess it's ELLINAS multimedia.com, and the movie's called Christmas with the Coincidences.
And they can buy it.
Yep, it's kind of like My Big Fat Greek Wedding meets Christmas Vacation. It's a Christmas movie with a crazy Greek family and crazy Greek happenings around a dinner table.
All right, well, go check that out, guys. And what's that short film we made? You can go on YouTube. You can't buy it, but
Dad's Home. We did a little.
Is that what it's called? Dad's
a little
Home?
web series, and forced that through. I appreciate you doing it. Nobody knew me at the time, and you were totally willing to help me out, not knowing what kind of piece of shit I would make, and I did the best I could with the people I was trying to.
Well, I think you were porking the lead.
Yeah, I basically just needed people to help me reshoot some stuff, and the actors, we all became kind of personally intertwined, and they started using my project to kind of get their way, and they would hold it up and so in the end I ended up not getting to do it the way I wanted to. So
welcome to Hollywood, baby.
Yep, exactly, my first experience.
Yeah, so. EGF, everyone gets fucked in this business.
Exactly.
So what's your Twitter handle?
Jordan the Lion. Instagram's Jordan the Lion, and Facebook is Jordan Lee.
So guys, check out Jordan. He's one of the good people in the LA comedy scene. He's a talented actor, and you'll be hearing from him. He's got his finger in the air. He knows which way the wind is blowing.
That's right.
And just a personal announcement right now: don't buy Earl Skakel's comedy album, Earl Alive, because I didn't renew a TuneCore, so I'm not sure where the money goes. So I gotta if
get
anyone,
your finger off the button right now.
Well, I mean, no, I've had like 5 people told me they bought it last week, and I'm like, I don't get the money right now, which is crazy to me, because TuneCore's accounting methods are about on par with Tommy's. So if you want to support Earl Skakel, just spread the word about Inappropriate Earl. We're on SoundCloud and iTunes, and leave a review. That helps. The more reviews we have, it just looks better. I'm trying to get to the Rogan and Marin level, and it's a lot of work. So
the biggest name in podcast media today. Earl Skakel. Learn to love it.
Not yet, but it just you build a following, and T-shirts will be coming soon. And Thursday, we got another episode coming out with Joey Allen from Warrant. We're going to break down where the Down Boys went. And, Warrant's an interesting band because they were like the last band to make it out of the
They
LA
sure were.
scene. So
They were the ones that walked into that record company and saw the Alice in Chains on the wall and knew it was over.
Yeah, I mean, literally, what the story goes, one week they walk into, I think it was Atlantic Records in L.A., and there's a big cherry pie, not poster, but like mural.
Yeah.
And, the next week they go in and Alice in Chains is there, and
they're not taking their calls.
Warrant's cutting their hair and wearing flannel 3 weeks later. So, but Joey's a good dude. He's a great guitar player and doesn't get the credit he deserves because, a lot of those 80s guys, the Jakey Lees, the Warren D. Martinis, the George Lynches, it's because they look like drag queens. I'll tell you what, I'll put Jakey Lee up against any guitar player anyone names, and he's got the chops.
Yeah.
Check out his band, Red Dragon Cartel.
I thought you hated the singer for that, didn't you?
The singer was horrible. The singer was like
the drummer with no shirt on.
Yeah, it's like he's got like some weird belly tattoo, and he's got a big fucking gut, and he's like rock. He's singing a classic Ozzy song that Jake wrote called "Rock and Roll Rebel," and the singer's saying "Rock and Roll Devil." It's like, God
damn.
It's like someone singing in Zeppelin singing Stairway to Hyannisport, and then it was just bad. And then, he said at one point, I'm from Toronto. And when he said he's from Toronto, you could hear drink tickets being taken at the Rainbow. I mean, it was just like, dude, nobody cares but where you're from. We're all here to see Jakey Lee. It's his first concert in like 25 years.
Yeah.
I'm at the Whiskey. It was packed. And, Jake was great. But, the rest of the band, the bass player didn't move an inch the whole night. But that's his manager. So that's how he got the gig.
Holy shit.
The drummer was okay, but they got Craig Chason on bass, and he was with Jake Ely in Badlands. So, I think he's trying to get Jake a little more together. But
oh, wow, man. You should have podcasted a review of that show right afterward.
That was awful, man. Well, I'm thinking about doing some podcast by myself, but, it's always better with guests. And,
I did. Okay. I know I've put this out there a million times, but I'm going to say it again. And I'm going to call it out. I really want you to have Jerry Rocha on. I think you and Jerry would be hilarious. And Jerry used to do a podcast where it was just him called The Ramble, where he'd just go on there and start rambling. And very few people can keep a podcast interesting doing that. And I think you definitely could do that.
Well, I thought of every now and then just when I can't get a guest to come, because I realized probably my biggest mistake was
you had Kenny Lyon on?
No, I realized I don't think I would have Kenny on. I love him, but that might get old real fast.
You could just record your conversation at Subway and release that.
So no, I'm good on that. I think the NAACP would have a problem with Kenny as a guest. But, you got to do, I think, at least one a week so people get into the habit of, Inappropriate Earl's out Monday night. And so every now and then, if I can't get someone to come down or can't go to someone, I might review an old Kiss album for like a half hour.
That'd be cool. You should do stuff like that.
Or 15, maybe even just like a 15-minute, just quickie. And
whatever you got in you.
To get, I think maybe next week, I don't think I have anyone lined up. I might, if you guys tweet, let's do some like tweeting just to get some buzz going about this show. I'm at Earl Skakel. I think everyone knows that. And Instagram, same thing, Facebook. Tweet what album you want me to review of Kiss's. It can be anything related to Kiss. It could be Vinnie Vincent's album, 2 albums. It could be his EP he released.
Gene's solo record.
Gene's solo record where he had like Helen Reddy and Joe Perry and Diana Ross and Cher on. It could be Crazy Nights. We could break down the Desmond Child songs. So this is might be one of the longest, if not the longest, Inappropriate Earl.
Fuck yeah.
We've got Ray Lewis on my TV screen. That looks like a character
wearing a Snoopy aviator hat.
Looks like something out of the Land of the Lost. Maybe Chaka and the Slee Stacks are behind him. And by the way, my TV is set to night vision. I have my bulb is burnt out, but the TV is still in watchable condition, so I haven't gotten a new TV yet.
So everything's got a green tint to it.
So I got like a direct TV guy over here the other day giving me a new receiver, and he's like, dude, what, did someone from SEAL Team 6 set your TV to night vision? So, if you want to give Earl, if you want to support Earl, just let's get Inappropriate Earl going so I can buy a new TV and, Samsung Smart TV with Netflix.
There we go.
That is it, guys. Like I said, we're on SoundCloud and iTunes. Thank you to Jordan Lee for coming down.
Suck it.
Joey Allen here Thursday. Leave a review on iTunes. I leave them all up, good or bad. And this will be up at some point in the next few hours. So if you can, retweet it or Facebook it or whatever. It helps me out, helps get the numbers up. And we'll see you out there soon. Yeah.